So, hello and welcome to Higher Thinking on Higher Ed. I am Charlene Carrington of Content Strong Communications, the fractional communications and marketing leader of choice for universities, colleges, and nonprofits. And today I am in a very strange place. So, everyone who's watching this and have watched these episodes are a little, but just for today, I am excited to continue diving into the trends and the challenges encountered by leaders in higher education. And I am so honored to welcome Dr. Bryon Grigsby to the hot seat today. Bryon is the 16th president of Moravian University, where he's led a decade of innovation in digital learning, affordability, institutional growth. A Moravian alum himself and medieval literature scholar, you'll have to tell me about that afterwards. He's championed major tech and capital investments while securing a World Heritage designation for the university. So thank you so much again for bringing your expertise to this conversation today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
So you have led, the first question I usually ask people is really just to situate us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your role. You've led Moravian now through a significant period of transformation. I think we're all in a significant period of transformation in truth. But can you tell us a little bit more about your role and how it connects to the university's broader mission and evolution?
Yeah, Moravian's essentially about inclusion. And we were the first school to start educating women in the colonies back in 1742. So we're the sixth oldest college by our founding date, and the other five in front of us are all for noble boys. And the Moravians, when they arrived in Pennsylvania, felt like the only way you'd have an educated society is if you started educating the women first,
Right.
not the men, because the women are the first educators of the children. And so that was really revolutionary. And then they started educating the Lenape, the Native Americans. One of the amazing pieces about that is that they educated the Lenape in their own language. They learned Lenape and didn't force them to learn the language that they spoke. So they preserved their culture, their language. And so the institution was really about inclusion. And it so to get to the mission part, when I came to Moravian, we talked a lot that we weren't going to be classified as a top 100 liberal arts college anymore.
Right.
We were going to be classified as a master's comprehensive and get back to our roots of serving everyone. And the liberal arts tends to be about exclusion. We
Right.
won't teach this subject because that's professional. We won't teach that subject because that's not a liberal art. And I don't think that was the founding of the Moravians, where education should be concerning itself with that which concerns society. So society needs nurses, society needs teachers, as well as English literature people and other individuals. So the Master's Comprehensive University was really our focal point for the last 13 years.
Right. I love some of the history you gave there because I think it paints a really interesting and good historical picture of kind of the foundation for Moravian as being more than just inclusion, to me, progressive, really progressive thinking in terms of we're teaching our teachers this language so that they can deliver education in a language that is known and understandable to a specific group. And I think that is so, I don't want to say it's unique, but it is particularly important, I think, at a time right now. If I think about what kind of, certainly the conversations I've had across the board, and certainly what we're seeing everywhere in terms of the current climate, from your perspective and as a president, what are some of the biggest shifts you've seen lately in the higher ed landscape, specifically as it relates to what's going on around us and how it's impacting your work and your day-to-day?
I think the biggest question is value, right? What is the value of higher ed right now? And unfortunately, the Ivies and the elite universities, the broad brushstroke gets us all painted with whatever they say. And the value is being questioned. It's interesting that state universities, their value is not being questioned in the same context that the elites are. So I think we are having to shift to a more vocational workforce development. I think the biggest shift that's happening to us right now is, what does student learning look like in the age of AI? For the last century, we educators, us, have chosen that the artifact of student learning is the 8 to 10 page term paper. We only know what we know if we can communicate it to someone else.
Right.
And we've used the term paper as that way of knowing, and AI blows that up. But that hasn't always been the way of knowing of colleges before. In the Roman period, you had to do orations. That was how you knew something. In the Middle Ages, you had to do recitations and memorizations, and that's the way you knew something. There's been times in the early colonies that you had to learn debating as the way of knowing something. AI is blowing up our artifact that we used to know, but we need to replace it with another artifact that uses AI, but also demonstrates that the student can know and do something.
Right.
And I think that's a challenge. We are in a revolutionary moment, and it's liminal. We don't like liminal periods where the normal structures are out of line. But
Right.
we'll come through this. Universities are incredibly resilient. We'll figure out what learning artifacts mean for students using AI, and it will be fine. It's just
Right.
going to be painful getting through that liminal period.
I think that's such an, I've touched on several different points there that I want to pick up on. One, the big piece, of course, is what does learning mean in the face of AI? What does teaching mean in the face of AI? And how do you really demonstrate that someone understands what they need to know? And I think when we have these AI systems that are almost doing the thinking for us, we have to be able to demonstrate that we can think when we're in a situation where we don't have those at our fingertips and those things. I wonder, from your perspective, how you see your university or your institution getting through that, if you guys have identified any new strategies, let's say, to in terms of your teaching and how you roll that out.
I'm in the midst of it right now because I teach a pandemic class in
Oh,
the
wow.
fall, and I decided to go with our curriculum designers who created new AI chatbots for curriculum development, and it blew my mind. Everything has been transformed and changed. I've in my career, I've lived through lots of this will be the end of the universities. This, not that I lived back when radio was created, but that was a statement about radio, a statement about TV.
Right.
There was
The
online
internet.
learning, and
Right.
now in MOOCs. This one is going to change a lot. However, the universities are still going to figure out a way to survive and thrive in it. It is, I think it's going to change the cost structure in a
Right.
significant way. I don't think we are going to need as many staff members and possibly
Mhm.
not as many faculty members. The big change in cost analysis for colleges and universities is when I went to Moravian in 1990 and I handed in a term paper to a professor, they could grade as many term papers as they can today. There's not been any significant increase in capacity of a faculty member.
Right.
AI has the potential to make capacity for faculty members more significant. And so they can handle more students, more learning artifacts, other ways of teaching. They may be able to handle more sections than we've had before. This could all drive down costs for our students, which is a good thing, right? If we can
Right. Right.
deliver as good or better education at a lower cost with the capacity we currently have, then that's a benefit for our students. Our students graduate with less debt. Our students go on for more meaningful lives, et cetera, et cetera. So these, I'm redesigning my course, and the next thing is how do I explore grading and different ways of, we're also stripping down and doing some stuff with helping working adults to be able to degree complete at a less costly way than we have previously.
Right.
So all those things are going to be changes. I think faculty don't like to hear this, but I
Right.
compare what's going to happen to colleges as what happened to the airline industry. There are people that pay for first and business class because they want an experience that they think that has a value to.
Right.
We're going
Right.
to have students and parents who want to pay for a residential college experience with sports and clubs and all activities. And then there's others that we fly and coach, and we all arrive at the same destination. So these are different experiences and our society needs these different experiences. We cannot just ignore the 40 million adults who don't have the job skills and the education skills simply because they're older than 18.
I think you touched on so many things there. And I get back to the value point that you brought up earlier, this idea that everyone is questioning the value of higher education. But specifically, when we think about the Ivies and really those bigger ticket, high ticket education experiences, I tie that into what you just said about creating kind of three different streams of experience based on someone's ability to pay for it, essentially. I wonder what that means, or if you even have any thoughts on what that means for a school like Moravian or a school, one of the big Ivies, if they're able to create, let's say, a 3-level system, cost structure system, and if you think that's an interesting or a new strategy that anyone could take to fix that problem or address that problem of value.
Yeah, I don't think the Ivies will do it because I don't think they
Right.
have to. And I don't think the elites will do it because I don't think they have to.
Right.
But I do think a place like Moravian, which was founded on access, could. And there's many schools like us that were founded for a different mission where how can we not exclude people, but how can we include more people and better our
Right.
society for it? That's been the mission since the father of the Moravian education system is Comenius, who's considered the father of modern education. And that was about educating every single human being. Yeah, some people could argue, some people will argue that one model is better than the other, and I disagree.
Right.
I think difference, not deficient, difference, just different.
Right.
And there's reasons why people are in the different line. And it may be because of life experience, it may be because of what they can afford, but we should be able to bring them to the same destination.
Right. Absolutely. Shifting gears just slightly, I want to think about what you're doing right now. What initiatives are you especially proud of right now? Where, on the flip side, have you encountered some friction or frustration in advancing your goals?
Yeah, so I have two divergent things. On one hand, one of the things I'm really proud of is a bricks and mortar building that we're building right now, which
Good, good.
so we're completing a $45 million new students union built
Okay.
around student wellness. It's going to be only the second building in Pennsylvania that has a wellness certification. The Wharton School of Business is the other one. And so even the building, it's like LEED certification, but it's for
Okay.
building wellness. And so the building is actually a metaphor of student wellness. The first level of the floor, the foundation, is mental health and physical health, because you can't be ready for college unless you're mentally and physically
Right.
well. So
Right.
that's the foundation of the building. Then you move up to the next floor, which is nutrition, food, our values of the alumni affairs, career services, inclusive excellence, all those programs are on that floor. You move
Right.
up to the next floor and you get into specialized lounges, the Veterans Lounge, the Commuter Lounge. There's a decompression area where you can meditate and do yoga classes. There's even a religious area where you can pray, and there's student life offices to deal with any issues that you have. And then you move up to the third floor, which is a convention center and boardroom. So the building actually is a metaphor of student life in
Right.
itself. So that's one thing I'm really proud of that we're just completing. And then on the flip side, we're massively involved in helping our faculty learn how to do generative AI for their classes, for their classrooms. We've deployed AI bots. We're deploying a complete AI suite for every student when they come onto campus in the fall. So they'll have
Right.
access to all the AI like ChatGPT and Gemini and all those in a controlled environment where faculty can watch what they're doing, so that faculty are helping to teach them how to use this technology
Right.
efficiently and ethically. And then we're deploying all sorts of online courses, synchronous and asynchronous courses using AI for certificates and adult degree completion.
Those are really great examples. I love to hear more at some point about the storytelling factor, how you're able to now, with this new building in particular, how you're able to really talk about, look at the experience, the full holistic experience you were delivering to students when they come here through something like this building and all the different foundational levels of their learning experience and the kind of person they'll be when they leave. I'd love to hear that at some point. But what's challenging for you guys right now? It sounds like you're doing really wonderfully in terms of AI and how you're leveraging that as a tool.
The challenges are faculty who just ban it, which I'm a medievalist. I'm and some who don't know medievalists that well would say I'm the devil incarnate, as I have the liberal arts degree and you can't get more esoteric than medieval studies. But
Right,
medievalists have always been very cutting edge because we've always had to defend why study a period that's so far removed.
right,
Value does it have? And we're constantly demonstrating the value. And medieval studies has always been multi-visual because there's marginalia, there's graffiti of the Middle Ages. It's not just
right,
textual. I think for me, that's our biggest challenge is the faculty who want to ignore that AI exists. And I think you can do that not in colleges. I think, high schools may want to choose to do that. I don't think that's a wise move, but we're preparing students for the world that they're
exactly.
going to go into, and the
Right.
world is going to have
Let's
AI.
use it. Yeah. The world is using it. Absolutely. The
This
world is
is
a tool.
we provide as part of our equity piece, we provide a MacBook an iPad, a pencil, and an Apple Watch to every
Oh, wow.
student. And now we're providing access to AI to every student as part of their tuition coming in. It's to level the playing field so that
Right.
no one student has an advantage another student doesn't have in technology.
Love that. I love that. I love hearing that. I just think it's such an advantage. Most universities and institutions across the board should be thinking about how to prepare their student for the future of work and what the future of work looks like when we don't know what it will look like in the next
Right.
5 minutes, let alone 5 years. So I really think it's a valuable exercise to think about. We're giving you the tool. We're giving you not only the tools to use right now, but the thinking that goes along with how to use the tools so that you could apply it to something that we don't know will exist in the future.
And go back to that one idea. I think it's interesting to think about AI doesn't think. AI
Right.
is just bringing human
Regurgitating.
information to you
Yeah.
fast, much faster. And we've gone through this experience before. We remember card catalogs and our
Right.
faculty telling you that you had to wander the stacks and you had to spend 50% of your time researching and 50% of the time composing. And then suddenly researching got a lot faster with
Right.
computers. And the difference changed on how much you had to research, how much you spent more time composing than you spent actually necessarily having to find the books and the
Right.
sources. Now it's incredibly fast. Everything
Right.
is brought to me, and they say that the misnomer is it shouldn't be artificial intelligence, it should be augmented intelligence,
Intelligence. Right.
because it's really just a library of human knowledge that's being brought to you with
Right.
some warts and other things in it. And you have to be a critical thinker to be able to navigate what
Identify
doesn't make
those.
sense.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a piece that most people, not most people, but some people are missing, and some people are really using it as the foundation for everything that they do without that extra step, without that critical thinking to analyze and think about, is this the correct answer? Is this the answer that I was actually looking for? And how
Right.
does this align with my strategy? So I think about some of the things that you're doing. You talked about really embedding AI in your programming and as well and building up the student experience that way. But I think about and then of course the creation of your new building, which is great. When you're looking at all of the things that you're doing right now, what type of data are you looking at? What type of indicators are you finding the most meaningful in terms of really showing you that you're reaching your goals or that you're hitting those outcomes that you're trying to reach? And whether that's enrollment or whether that's reputation, or whether that's, I don't know, digital innovation, whatever it is, what metrics are you looking at?
Right now, by one standard survey, we were the fastest growing institution in the nation.
Okay.
So over the last decade, that's our biggest indicator, is that we have something that valuable that
Right.
students want, and they're getting jobs after that. We are also seeing good retention. I think we're in the 81 to 82, 83, our first year retention, which is really, I don't think we're going to move for the kind of place we are that wants to
Right.
be open access to a majority of students. We want to, I know you're in Canada. We want to be the universities that are in Canada, that if we're
Right.
valued, we expand. We provide more resources for people, not less. And those are the indicators I love. For us, we finally broke 4,000 applications, which was a big deal for us. When I started,
Great.
we were about 700 applications, which was the plan, which made no sense to me. The fight part is we were at like 3,999 for a week. And my VP of admission said, I'm almost tempted just to put one application in just to get to 4,000. And then the next week we were at like 4,500. It like
Oh, big
was crazy.
celebration.
Yeah. So those are metrics we look at. We're putting a lot of, we have an AI bot coming in for student life that's going to be monitoring student health and wellness and
Right.
questions that students have. So we're excited about that data that's going to be entering. We have a really robust help center, early warning center, but it's not using AI, it's using human capital. And I'd like to see what AI, how that
Can
leverage.
supplement it.
Yeah.
Right. I think that those are some huge metrics to be following and some huge wins you just spoke of right there. What do you think? And this is not a question that I had on my list at all, but what do you think is responsible for that? Would you say it's because you're, I don't know, really thinking about the student experience or changing the way that you roll out programs, or just because you're always staying with that foundation of trying to be accessible to students that you've been able to experience that growth? Certainly when we're hearing across the board that there is this huge enrollment cliff and nobody's signing up anymore, and nobody can pay for it, and nobody sees the value. You are seeing that kind of that growth.
To be flippant, I would say we're the Greyhounds, and I got two live mascots, and they drove enrollment more, particularly the one mascot, the official one, was a huge enrollment driver. I think it's relevance at the end of the day. I think it's relevance, and people are willing to pay for value. We do get more money on net tuition because we're providing more. We're providing laptops, we're providing access to AI, we provide assistant coaches, so full-time coaches and assistant coaches. We provide
Right.
a whole counseling suite and health center. We have not been cutting back on student services. We've actually been increasing. Every student gets a career counselor that starts with them on the first day they walk into the school, and that they have to meet with them in addition to their advisor to talk about how they're preparing their CVs or their resumes, when they're going to take. We provide every student with a global trip for a 10 or 14-day international trip. So these are all costs that, yes, we're not the cheapest, but we're providing a lot of value. And I look at Apple, it does the same model. You can buy a cheaper phone, but do you want to? Do you want to buy the one that
Right.
has the greatest quality and the greatest value for yourself? And so I think those things are the pieces that are driving our enrollment. Parents are willing to pay for things that at the end of the day are going to impact the future of their children's lives.
That's excellent. I know you spoke a little bit about some of the goals, like some of the new AI tools that you're trying to embed into your systems and to your strategies. Is there anything else you're looking towards for the next 6 to 12 months that you really have your eye on and you're really hoping that you get to do?
So assessment right now is the number one thing. Assessment of these AI tools. I've
Right.
told the board and everybody else we're signing 1-year contracts because I have no idea what it's going to be like next year. And so we have to choose something. I go to ASU GSV conference every year, and there's
Right.
6 vendors doing the same thing, and you're going to have to pick one.
Yeah.
and you're going to have to assess whether it's working for you or not. And you're going to have to change horses pretty
Right.
quickly, because in this market, people can have a startup in a couple months. It can be bought out in a couple more months, and then there's a new product that's even better in a couple more months after that. The advantage is none of these things are hugely expensive. You're talking
Right.
$20,000 to $40,000 in general
Right.
for an AI bot that does some aspect. We have one for admissions right now that we've been using for about 6 months. We have one in student life and academics, and we have one in development and advancement. And
Right.
for me, it's assessing how they're going to be used. And I should add the one that does the chat GPT and the AI for the students.
Right.
But we're going to be spending this year in assessment. Is this the right product? Do we need to switch to another product? Is there something better out there? That's on the next 6-month horizon, is just assessment of everything we
That
decided to
you're doing.
deploy.
I think I think everyone needs to be doing a little bit of that now. And I think what's interesting about that exercise is not just employing the tools and using the tools, but finding the right people to engage to find out how well the tools are working. That's like, you're talking to faculty, you're talking to staff, you're talking to students to see what their experience is and what the value is of them being able to have access to all of these tools.
And we have to be willing to fail.
You have to be
I talk to my board about this all the time. If you want to be entrepreneurial, you have to be accepting that some things aren't going to work.
right.
And we're going to have to go left or right from that position. And we have to be comfortable with that. As educators, we learn more from our failures than we learn from our successes. The advantage, like I said before, is failure is pretty low cost right now. It's not like you did a $10 million
$1 million.
ERP switch and you failed.
I think that's a huge benefit and a huge point that you mentioned there, because I think generally in the higher ed sector, there is the fear of failure. Everyone feels like there's so much on the line right now. But as you rightfully mentioned, the costs are so low that if you fail, you try something else, you adapt, you learn from those failures, and you move to something that's a little bit better. My final question for you is, the magic wand question. I ask everyone this question. Some people are like, I don't know how to answer, and some people love it and have a really great idea. So if I give you a magic wand right now, pretend my pen is that magic wand, and you could take it and you could wave it around and you could remove that one big barrier, that one big challenge that's in your way. What would that big barrier be that you would remove, and what would that mean for your team, your ecosystem?
Fear. If I could remove fear, it results in a variety of different ways. Fear of
Right.
self, fear of being shown as the fool. We all know deep in our hearts we are, and we're protecting that image. Fear that the university is going to end, and it may end as the way we know it, but it's
Right.
been resilient since the 12th century.
Right.
It probably will be resilient again. It's
Right.
very good at adapting, even if it moves very slowly. I just think if I could replace fear with trust, and that we'll go into this open mind, open eyes, clear eyes, open heart,
Right.
and just keep the focus that we're trying to do the best we can for our students,
Right.
and get away all the other fears that manifest themselves in different ways. They never manifest themselves as I'm really afraid.
Yes. So true. So true. So true.
Uh,
People can never identify that the fear is the actual barrier.
and we can try and we can fail, and it's okay. We'll pick up the pieces and we'll try again. So that would be my magic wand.
That's an inspirational message you're leaving us all on, I think, Bryon. That's a big core inspirational message that ideally everyone will take away from this episode. Is there anything else that comes to mind that I just didn't ask you about, you didn't get a chance to talk about, but you were really hoping to mention?
No, I think this is a great time to be educational leaders. I actually think it's a great time for the humanities too. I think you're going to see the humanities come back, because where else do we pull in a variety of texts and show
Right.
which ones are real, which ones are lying, which ones are shading the truth? Digital humanities, I think, is going to just explode.
Explode.
And we're a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we're focused heavily on digital humanities and seeing
Right.
growth in that. But it's going to be something different than the English
We've ever
degree I
seen.
took in 1990. And it should be. This is good that it's evolving and it's changing. But I think digital humanities across universities, because I know not everybody can be a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Right,
I hear
right,
this all the time, but every place has museums and historical locations that they're probably their campus is a
right,
historical location. You can
right.
use digital humanities for that and recreate things in using AI and going into archives and stuff like that, even though you're not a World Heritage Site.
I
So
think you I think you've touched on a very important point or a very important opportunity across the board is this idea that because we're moving so close with as closely aligned with technology and becoming even more reliant on technology like AI, there is this whole opportunity over here to really explore what it means to find truth, what is truth, and just really seeing how our humanity aligns with this idea of intelligence that is artificial intelligence.
I
Yeah,
love the
huge.
statement that's come out. I think it was MIT that people can identify things that are AI created because it's lacking a soul.
Oh, right.
And I think that's what the human component is. And if you're using AI effectively, you're rewriting what it's
Right,
writing to
right.
put the soul in it. And I do think that's going to be the benefit to the humanities in the long run, because that is truly what it means to be human. It's the study of what it means to be human. And you can bring this human knowledge, but to make it your own, you have to put your soul
Into it. Yeah. That's the soundbite, Bryon. That's it.
in.
That's it. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your experience, your perspective. It's been a hugely generous and thoughtful conversation. To our listeners, to our watchers, thank you so much for sharing this moment with us. I hope you see affirmed your own experiences or maybe see a challenge in a new light. If you're a communications or marketing leader or any leader in higher ed, if you're in advancement, if you're a president, if you're in finance, whatever, and you have something to contribute to this conversation, I'd love to hear from you because these conversations are more than just talk, right? They are ideally a guiding light, a shared roadmap to the future of our field. So let's get to work. Thank you so much again, Bryon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.